Hello, my Italian food fanatics. Today, we're going to make steak Pizzaiolo. Now, I don't know where this came from. It's a steak of the pizza maker, but it uses really crummy meat, or it's supposed to. In this case, we're going to be using a New York steak. I bought it at Trader Joe's, a place really, in my opinion, that sells at premium prices meat that is not worth the money. Okay, you'll see. There's no marbling at all. It has to be a select grade, but they sell it as for a lot more money. And plus, with the inflation these days, you're never going to get what you paid for ever again, I don't think. Makes no difference. Please, thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell button so you know when I release another video. And let's go and make the steak Pizzaiolo. It's fast, it's delicious, and you're going to love it. All right, I'll see you in the kitchen. All right, let's get started. First, we need some steak for this meal. I went to Trader Joe and I bought a New York steak. Now, in my opinion, their meat is overpriced and highly lacking in everything. Look, it has to be a select cut because there's no marbling whatsoever. It's basically a junk New York steak, unfortunately. But this dish was supposed to be made with a lesser cut of meat, a blade steak or something that really wasn't super soigné, because you're gonna literally cover it in a tomato sauce. And if a steak is really, really good, you don't need to cover it in anything. In fact, you need very, very little to make a steak delicious if it starts out with really good meat. So I've taken a New York steak, I've cut it in half. I'm now going to put it between two pieces of plastic wrap, and we're going to take a meat mallet and slowly pound it till it's about 1/8 of an inch thick. We'll then salt and pepper it and then dredge it in flour, and we're going to go onto the stove and sear it, get a nice color on both sides. In addition to that, we're going to need some tomatoes. We're also going to utilize a little bit of garlic, some red pepper, and an anchovy, a little bit of basil at the end, and that's basically it, other than 100% extra virgin California olive oil. And of course I have the flour over here as well for the dredging, but we'll get to that in a moment. Let me take care of the steak first, and then we'll get to all of this. All right, you can see that I have taken the meat mallet, and we have pounded these gently down to about 1/8 of an inch. And now we're going to dredge them in flour. First, a little bit of salt, and I'm actually going to put some pepper on here as well. All right, so we'll come back when I'm going to dredge them, and we're going to go to the frying pan. All right, so let us add a little bit of salt here. This is Malden salt, so it's a little bit larger in crystals, so it seems like a lot more salt than it really is. I'm just using out of convenience rather than going and getting out the other salt. And then, of course, a little bit of pepper. And we're going to get this side as well. Even though I don't like to really cook with pepper on a regular basis. So let's put it that way. All right, now we're going to dredge them in flour. Not a big deal. And what we want to do is get it covered, but we don't want excess flour to stick to the meat. All right. There's that. And now let's go to the stove and brown these off. All right, here we are at the stove. I have the pan on, and it's very high heat, and I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil in there. And we're going to let this come up to temperature, and when it does, I'll come back and we will cook the steaks. All right, now our pan has come up to temperature. It's nice and smoking, and we're going to lay these steaks in. away from us so that you don't get burned and splashed on. I'm going to move this one back a little bit. You just want to leave them there. You don't want to do anything. You just want to leave them. What we want is a nice crust to form. Get a little bit of color. I'm going to turn them over, get a little color on the other side, and then take them out. Simple as that. We turn them over, and of course we're going to brown the other side as well. All right, that should do it. I'm going to take these out of here. We're going to turn off the heat, and now we're going to wipe out the pan, but we don't want to get rid of that fond. We want all that stuff in there, but we want to get rid of the oil, so I'll be right. Okay, back in the same pan. I've turned on the heat again. We're going to take a little bit more olive oil, put it in the pan, and we're going to saute our garlic, our anchovies, and the red peppers together. And we're going to do that until the garlic gets a little bit of color on it. And you can smell the anchovies as they fry up. They just smell so good. So we have to be cognizant here that this stuff does not burn. But again, like I said, we want that fond. And with that said, the garlic is starting to take on just a little bit of color, and we don't want to go beyond this point. So we will arrest the cooking by adding in the tomatoes. And mixing all of that in. And what we're also going to try and do is scrape up some of that fond by getting a wooden spoon and working that stuff up. There we go. You can hear it coming off the bottom. That's all flavor, and we want that. We want that in the sauce. So we'll go back and forth and pull this up. Now normally, in this particular dish, there's no wine. But classically what you would do is that you would turn around and deglaze with some wine, but not in this case. So what we're going to do is we are going to scrape up the rest of this stuff, and we're going to allow this sauce to thicken up just a little bit. That looks like about it. I've got all the bits off. Everything is smooth as I go back and forth. So all of that will now be a part of the sauce. Be nice and delicious. We'll let this reduce down, and just slightly, just a couple of minutes, and then we'll nestle in our meat, add a little bit of torn basil, and we'll go to town. We'll dish it up. See you in a bit. All right, you can see that our sauce has reduced down, and it has become a little bit more viscous, so the water has basically evaporated out. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tear a little bit of basil and put it inside of there. This is actually the way that I prefer to do basil as opposed to chopping it up. It retains its integrity this way, or I like to put it in whole, believe it or not. But that's for something that's going to cook for quite some time. In this case, this is just literally added right at the end of cooking, and so consequently it's not going to have an opportunity to really wilt down. There we go. That's the consistency you're looking for. Now let's re-nestle these steaks into the sauce to get them warmed up again. And any kind of juice that's left in, we're going to let that go back into the sauce as well. That's all flavor, of course. And we'll put these in, cover them up a little bit here with the sauce to get them warm on from both sides. Turn up the heat just a little bit and let those warm through. As soon as they're warmed through, we'll go and we'll plate everything up. Got to give them a couple of turns here as well. There we go. That looks nice. All right, let's go plate it up. Hello, my Italian food fanatics. Well, you saw me dish it up in the beginning of the video, and here it is, steak Pizzaiolo. I don't know where this got invented. Pizzaiolo is a person that makes pizza. It may have been at one time a steak that was covered in pizza sauce, or a steak that the pizza makers made for themselves. I think it's more of an Italian-American or an American-Italian thing than it is an Italian-Italian sort of a dish. But anyway, it uses really crummy beef, and that is indicative of the hard, struggling times that the immigrants that came to America from Italy had to deal with. And so consequently, I believe it does come from the poor kitchen, although they could, when they came to America, begin to afford meat. It's a very fast dish to make. You saw that. It's a very, very thin steak. It's basically seared on both sides, and then a quick tomato sauce, a little anchovies, a little garlic, red pepper, and some tomato with torn basil in there, a little bit of salt and pepper, and that's about it. I mean, it couldn't be more simple, and let me tell you, we'll see if it couldn't be more delicious. I'll tell you what, that flour and that crust that we formed with the flour adds a lot to the steak. So please, if you make this, do not omit the step with the flour. And of course, don't omit seasoning the steak. This one is seasoned perfectly. Because we cooked the tomato down, it has a very, very rich flavor. It's absolutely delicious. And you can tell that it's more of an American-Italian thing because of the amount of garlic in there. If this was just Italian, we would have taken one clove, smashed it, put it in the oil, and then removed it. But not with this particular recipe. Wow. You could put pasta with this. Of course, in Italy you wouldn't do that, and it would go great with this sauce. This sauce is really fantastic and very quick to make. So, oh, you know what? Before I forget, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, hit the bell button so that you know when I release new videos. All that stuff should be right up here. And share with your friends. Leave a comment down below. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your time. I appreciate all of your comments. And I try to get to every single one of them. In fact, I'm successful at that right now. The next time you have a marginal piece of meat and you want to make something that tastes delicious, by hitting the meat down and pounding it to about an eighth of an inch, it makes even the toughest cuts tender. And even though this is, in my opinion, the Trader Joe beef, it's really bottom of the barrel, and they charge you a lot of money for it. And remember, that's just my opinion. It was too much to spend for this particular dish, to be honest with you. So wait until you have a really crummy piece of meat, and then here you go. You get a good deal on some blade steaks or whatever, or anything, flank steak, something that you can hit and pound down and make tender. And this is the perfect solution for that. Anyway, have a great day, no matter wherever you are in the world, and I will see you soon. Thank you so much.